There we go. All right, YouTube, what is going on? My name is Brian Morrison. I am here yet again working on a serverless shipping app with AWS. I've been doing this every week for the most part. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. I'm running a little bit late tonight because things have been extra crazy this week. I can't even explain why. There's just been so much going on, and I don't know if there's a full moon or something, but it's coming or something. I don't know. It's just been nutty. So anyway, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. I released a new video this week. It's the fourth part of the Coding Node.js API series, which, you know what, to be entirely honest, I don't even remember what it covers. Let's take a look here while we're on YouTube, right? So let's see your channel. Yes, number 4. What do we got on number 4? Ah, shut up, you. Me. Validating Node.js API request data. Okay, so that's what we talked about. So in that one, I used Express Validator to validate data that comes into the API. Recommend to go check it out, give it a like, share it out, you know, all that good stuff. But beyond that, I really don't have any other updates. I didn't do any work since last week, or since last 2 weeks. We didn't have a stream last week because again, schedule's been nuts. But yeah, so make sure my mic's working. Yeah, my mic's working. So anyway, oh man, I totally forgot to share this out. Oh, that's okay. Whatever. We'll do this. We'll do this without. Can I move this other side? I'm seriously all over the place this week. It's not even funny. Anyway, so let's just take a look at see what we got, what I'm working on here. Let's go to our board inside of Azure DevOps. The onboarding experience. I think I did actually tweak a little bit more of the onboarding experience since then, but let's fire up the front end and the API, and let's just poke around and see where I'm at today. So we'll do npm run dev. Actually, I got a cd to the API, and no, I'm sorry, not. We got sam local start API, which is going to start up a container, or it's going to start up sam local, which we can use to test our API. And that seems to be running, so let's open up another one here. Let's cd to the UI and npm run dev. Let this guy start up, and while that is cranking away, let this thing build and do its thing, and then we can go ahead and take a look and see exactly where we're at. Yes, I'm getting a link to my video right now so I could share it out to a couple of places because I totally forgot to do that. I should have done this before I even kicked it off, but I was running late as it was, so, you know, that's how it goes. Okay. All right, at least I got 2 places down. Cool. Cool. And one more time. All right, back to the regularly scheduled program. So our UI is up. Let's open up a Firefox window, because I like to do all of my dev and stuff in Firefox. You can see I have AWS already pulled up here. So let's go to localhost 8080, which is where our APIs run on. Okay, I think I remember my password. What's up, Diamond? How you doing? Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it either. And Morrison.me. All right, I don't remember what I set my password to. I guess I should write that down when I do this. So let's go into Cognito. We're going to reset this password. Zoom in here a little bit. Manage user pools, test users. I think this is the one we were working with. I don't know who this guy is. Who are you? That's me. Let's see, reset password. I think it's actually going to send me the password reset link, so we might be able to do this live and see how this experience looks. Yep, I got an email. So let me get that out of here. It sent me a password reset code, but I got nothing else. All right, so let's try and manually reset this. Let's see, forgot your password. Yeah, here we go. So it's emailed me a code. Here's the code, and set it to one of my most commonly used passwords for testing things. Okay, it seemed to like that, so. Don't save it. I probably should save it. All right, so it looks like my onboarding is completely different. We got to take a look and see where this is actually, where this API is actually looking to for the backend, or where the, I guess the UI is looking to for the backend API. We should be redirected to localhost, which we are. So that's cool. Yeah, this is the new design. I'm not sure if I had this live, but it's coming together quite well. This is just a temporary logo for the application. I'm eventually going to contract that out and get one designed. But that'll be for another time. So I think I had it under, not Babel config. No, I don't know what that asked me. App.config. So our API base is localhost 3000. So that is the API that's running locally, which means my, let's see, DynamoDB, which means, let's see what we got here. Yeah, so I have an account, I have a user, here's my user. This is the actual account that was created. I wish there was a way that I could see this data a little bit better. I guess I click on, double click on it, it copies. Let's go to Sublime. All right, so you can see we have, this is the structure that we have set up for the data itself. So I have an owner ID. System is going to be what I'm going to use for things that don't really belong to a specific account or user. I also have an entity ID. The first 4 characters before the underscore kind of identify what type of entity it is, and then the rest of it is just a GUID. It's a randomly generated string. Just so this way there is uniqueness there. And one of the neat things about the way that I've set this up is, say for instance, we have inside of here an account owns a bunch of shipments. So I could say like SHP something underscore, right? I can pull back, I can run a query against here to say everything with an owner ID of this and everything in this is a sort key or the range key. So everything in here that starts with SHP underscore will get all the shipments, or, you know, CUST for customer, or, you know, it'll be able to pull back all the records as it pertains to who owns them. And it should perform pretty quickly because all that data is going to be stored together, because it's a composite key that makes up the unique, I don't want to call it a primary key because I think this is still called the primary key technically, but it makes up uniqueness. So I guess is the best way to put it. Like I couldn't have 2 users with the same ID in system because that's not unique. You need both of these things to be unique. And then I'm just storing document, and it's just JSON that's stored in this text field. As you can see, DynamoDB kind of, you know, adjusts, it sets up the data itself weird. When we pull it back, it re-puts it back the way exactly it was before. Okay, so that's set up, and there's nothing else here, which I think is why we need to set this account up. Let me just walk through my onboarding process and see where we're at. So first name Brian Morrison. You can see we're showing the email address we have here. I've added a checkbox here to say if it's a company account. We're going to make it a company account because, like I've said in past streams, what I've done before is what I'm trying to do ahead of time, so I don't have to worry about re-engineering some of this stuff, is take into consideration a user can belong to multiple companies or accounts, right? And if I'm working on multiple accounts, if I'm a subcontractor or something like this, I want to be able to quickly switch between those accounts. So, oh, I know where I had left off before, actually. Now some of this is starting to come back to me because, I haven't touched this in 2 weeks. The issue that I had run into last time was trying to figure out how, once all this information is filled out, see, I want a lot of the information for the account to be, at least the active account. So like, let's see here. I go to, why am I still getting notification messages? There we go. So like if I go into here or go back to the data, you can see I have the active account is this. So in a perfect world, what I want to do is I want somebody to select a drop down, switch accounts. But when they switch accounts, it's going to send a signal back to the API to say switch the user's active account to this one. Excuse me. And I don't want a user to have to re-sign in, because in this, the way that things are set up now, I'm just passing the access token right back to the user without storing the refresh tokens, so I can't actually request a new token from Cognito without having that refresh token. So that was where I left off, and that was why I hadn't touched this. Now it's coming back to me, is I have to kind of redesign that whole authentication flow, so this way I can grab and store the access tokens probably into some kind of caching service. Like, you know, I might use Redis Elasticache as Redis and Memcached. I might use one of those two things to try and store those access tokens for the user, so it's just quick and, you know, can be accessed. But I think to start, we'll probably just end up storing everything in Dynamo as, you know, as it goes. All right, so but we'll still continue walking through this. So we're going to flag that as a company account. Continue. I'm going to use Orcala LLC, which is my old, now debunked company. And we'll say 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5. Actually, I need to use a real, because that was the other thing I had implemented in this, was this will actually send an address back into the API. It will validate it, send it back. And you know what I'll do is I'll open up F12 here, so this way we can see what some of this data looks like as it comes back. So onboarding, I know I've used the Willis Tower as kind of my default address, and I forgot it already. So 233 South Wacker Drive in Chicago. So we'll enter that as our ship from address. So 233 South Wacker Drive, and Chicago, Illinois 60606, I think was the zip code, if I remember it. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. And you can see in here, I'm sending a post back to this addresses API. And let's YouTube, yeah, put YouTube. That's on my to-do. So it validated the address. Let's actually blow this up too. So let's pop this up into a separate window so we can look at the actual request that's come through. And there's the token. Here's the request. So we have basically just we have the name, street 1, street 2, city, state, zip, and the company name. And then my response is all this information, including the, you know, whether it was, this address is able to be delivered. And then I'm storing, this is the ID that's actually stored in the database. So, or it will be stored in the database. I don't think it is yet. Could be talking. Yeah, no, it's not yet. So it's actually, when I click this next button here, this get started, it's going to save the address along with the company record. So this way it's able to be pulled back real quick. So let's get started. I still got F12, so you can see we're posting back to an accounts API. And it already broke. Why did it break? All right, so now here we go. This is what we're gonna do, is we're gonna debug this. So we'll pop open this, and we're gonna switch over to our SAM local. And the one thing I've not really liked about SAM local is sometimes it doesn't really give you any kind of information as to why something might have failed. Let's check this and see if anything ended up in here. Oh, you know what's interesting is I already have an address in here, so something's not gotta not be working right with that flow. JSON. Yeah, you can see here's all of the information for the address being stored up. So something has got to not be working right with that check that says whether the user needs to actually do that onboarding flow or not. And there's that. So this was set up beforehand, and this ID here, this is the unique ID in my system for it. And then I also have an easy post ID, which is the unique ID in their system, which we can use to quickly reference when we're sending a payload back to our API for creating a shipment. You can just reference this ID, so it makes the payload a little bit smaller. Doesn't make a huge difference on performance and costs, like in that specific request, but over time it probably is going to save us some money. So let's try and relog in and see. Hold on one sec. Let's try and relog in and see if it still prompts us for this. I can't remember what I was keying off of for the application to determine whether or not the user needs to be onboarded. So let's take a look at that actually. I have this auth handler under components. And we're checking, let's see, hash ID if claims is new user. So is new user, that's part of our API under, let's see, I think auth app. Yeah, so if it can't find the user properties, which is the user ID, it's gonna flag it as a new user. and it's going to send back the token. This all happens in Cognito. Oh, that's right. I actually have that third little app that I don't think I ever actually published, and I realized I need to. CD testing, and Alice, what's in here? CD JIT builder, npm run dev. I completely forgot about this project. There's been so much coming my way lately. It's been insane. It's a good problem to have, but it definitely doesn't reduce the stress levels and, you know, stuff to do. All right, so let's try this again. Actually, I don't want to go through the whole Cognito authentication onboarding flow, because I'm betting that's why we actually got set to create a new user, is because, yeah, this makes a little more sense now that I'm thinking. I haven't touched in a while, getting back into it. So when I signed in Cognito, Cognito is actually checking against the actual DynamoDB table up in AWS. But we want to test things locally, which is why I created this thing in the first place. Localhost 8082, I think, was the address. Yeah, which is this guy right here. So this has, see, all new user. That's the new user, and I think I actually have a sample saved across. Existing user claims, here we go. So this is what I'm going to save in here, and we'll click go and open our app into a new window, and boom, there's our new window. Yeah, and I think I've done a little bit of tweaking in the UI here too, so you can see on the left-hand side, this looks a little bit nicer with the colors. There's a drop-down menu here for settings and log out. I haven't quite decided. I think these you'll be able to click on these, and yeah, they bring it to new things. Customers, I think does load, but I don't think I have any customers. Let's refresh this page. No customers, but we did check, so it just didn't return anything, which is fine. New customer, yeah, this is where I had left off last time as I redesigned a bunch of this. So let's say John Smith, smith.com. We'll save this. I'm just trying to figure out where I was when I left off. We're actually going to pin this off to the right, Dr. Wright, so I can see the network communications happening. Okay, so I got a 201, which means it created. Let's go ahead and scan the database. You can see here's a CUST. Here is the customer, right? So what we want to do is we want to pass back. We're going to pass the token, and inside of the claims for the token, we're going to have the active account for that specific user. So when our API receives the token, it's going to validate that against it. Well, actually, you shouldn't need to validate it because the token is going to be signed by AWS, by Cognito, so we don't need to validate the account ID against the database entry, but we will need to validate that it is an entry inside of the token itself, because inside of our token, you can see we have, let's go back here. You can see we have a list of accounts that are permitted. So I can actually key against that and say, does this account that's being sent, actually I don't need to, because the token's signed. If it's signed, that means that this number has not been fudged, or this account ID has not been fudged. So we could just use that straight out, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's wire that up, because I'm not getting any data back, or at least it didn't refresh automatically. Let's see, refresh this. Okay, so I do actually have this. So the get is working. I just need to do it so this way after it's saved, it refreshes this list. Okay, that's easy enough actually. Okay, back into, so that's going to be the mission today. It's going to be a pretty short one. It took us a few minutes to figure out exactly where we're going, but the mission today is to get this new customers, get the new customer form working, to get the refresh of the customers list working, make sure that's all working properly. We'll try and see if we can get edit and delete working as well. So let's start off with doing that. All right, so inside of UI, let's head over to backend reviews. Nothing in reviews? Get rid of you then, I don't need you. Okay, go to components, not auth handler. We got to go to modules, because modules is where I have most of my I like to keep everything logically together as far as this goes. So customers, you can see I have a new customer. I have new customer list view. Let's see, save. Here's my modal here. Here's the data table. Oh yeah, I did switch this over to using Vuetify, which I originally was not going to, but then I made the decision to do it because as I was designing this thing last time, I realized that it looked a lot nicer in Vuetify. I'm using it. I'm using it with the hopes that it behaves correctly because I ran into issues with this framework before, but that was about a year ago, so I'm kind of hoping at this point that they might have sorted out the issues that I was working on last time. And to be frank, I don't really remember what they were, so not that big of a deal. Okay, so this is, if it's open, it's going to set to true, and this set is new customer dialog is actually part of the Vuex store we have here, so we can track the state of the application through Vuex. So what I actually think I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new action and refresh our customers list. Where's that is loading set up at? I think that's, we don't need app, we need customer list. Get rid of Lambda helper, get rid of that. Customer list. Let's see, is table loading? I think that's probably a local variable, yeah, right here. Here's the headers for our V table, V data table. Load customers is actually inside here. So what I'm probably gonna have to do so I can signal back up to the parent component, because new customer modal here is actually a child of customer list because that's where we have it registered. And you can't really send messages back up to the parent unless you're using Vuex state management or have something set up like an event bus, which I'm not a fan of doing. So what we're going to need to do is we have, I think customer list is part of our store already. Yeah, there's customers. So what we'll do is once the save is done, we're going to trigger a refresh to we're going to trigger a refresh into an action here inside of the Vuex store, which is going to subsequently update our customers and then refresh the data table itself. Okay, so let's move this. Save can exist here. That's fine. Refresh customers needs to be inside of our actions here. And I actually need to reference some old code to find out exactly how to do this. Because I don't commit anything to memory that I don't absolutely need to commit to memory. I like having notes and I like having references. I started using Notion recently, which is a really, really neat note-taking app that's completely cloud-based. And it's been really good for me trying to keep track of all my little code snippets and stuff. What am I looking for? Store, here we go. This is what I'm looking at here. So what we got here, actually I guess I'll explain some of this. I can find a good example to explain it. Yeah, I just have state and dispatch. So like state, commit, and payload are probably the couple of things that are worthwhile. So if you can see under this cache session, this is what I was using in my old version of this application to cache the tokens. We have a state, which references the actual state up here. We have commit, which can be used to trigger any one of the mutations here. As you can see here, I have commit set token, commit set user. State's not actually being used. I probably could have got rid of that. But payload is the data that's actually coming through. So it just accepts a plain object. You can't pass in multiple parameters into, unless they change this into the Vuex state management system. You can only pass an object, and that's what that payload is. And that's really all we need. So I'm actually going to copy this cache session here, and we're just going to tweak the hell out of it to get our desired output. So we can get rid of that. I don't think I need to worry about the state, so we can remove that as well. But I want the commit. Do I even want the payload? I don't even think I want the payload. That doesn't matter. All I need is commit here. So let's get rid of all this stuff. And what we'll do is we want to get customers. And then we're going to use the state to set customers. We also want to, up here, we want to do set is table loading. And then finally, we're going to set set is table not loading or something like that, right? So in here we'll do is customers table loading false, and we're going to add a new mutation here. Set is customers table loading, and that's going to accept state, and let's see, we're just going to pass it. I like using the same variable names across, just so this way it's easy to understand. And that's going to, not plus, that's going to be passed into state.is blah 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 equal to is blah blah blah, like that. And then the last thing I also want to do here is do is customers table loading, pass in state into an arrow function, and return state.is tables loading. So the getters are what's registered with the component itself. You don't do the state, and the reason you don't want to map the state directly in is because if you just change the state, it doesn't actually send a signal to the rest of the application that something has changed. So if you use getters and mutations, this will trigger that. So this way, anything that is listening to this store and detects that a change has occurred within is customers table loading, you can update the UI based on that signal that is sent. This honestly probably uses event bus all underneath the bottom of it, but I just don't like to have to deal with it, so I'd rather just do this. Okay, so all that said and done, we need to modify this and say is table loading. That's not going to be is table loading. It's going to be is customers table loading. Table loading. And we can get rid of is customers table loading. And we can do customers table is customers table loading. There we go. So that should update the loading logic there. On created this dot load customers. I guess what we can probably do is we're gonna move this into our store as well. That's the old one. Into here, and I think what I'll end up doing is I'm going to just change this to here, and we're just gonna copy and paste all this in here. Token, we're gonna have to import our auth service and our customer service. So, but we can get rid of this now since we have all of this here. So, how did I say? I will need to commit is table loading. I think that's how I had it set up. I'm gonna double check that because I already forgot. There we go. Let's grab this guy here. I think dispatch is what we can use to, yeah, so you can see under get user data, dispatch is a way that we can trigger another action. So commit triggers a mutation, dispatch triggers an action. So we'll do commit set is customers table loading. We want to set that to true right here. So that should set that properly. And we can get rid of that. And let's duplicate that line and bring it down. And we'll change that to false. Because once it's done, we're going to do false. We probably should try catch this as well. This.set customers, that's already there. Customers equals that, token equals that. So let's import our services here. Import auth service from, I think I could do it. No, not SRC. How do I do this again? I think this actually maps to SRC. So then I can go services and I can go auth service like that, I think. Let's check to make sure that that name is right. It's lowercase auth service. Like that. So now that should be due, and we'll do customer service as well. Oh, not customer service. Customer service. I got that name right. Customer service. Looks good. Save, and I think that probably should do it because so, oh no, not this dot set customers. We want to commit. We want to basically do another one of these guys here. But we're going to pass in set customers, and we're going to pass in the customers there, which should do what we want it to. Okay, so that's done. So load customers is still a thing. Oh, this is my completely outdated Azure DevOps board, which I haven't changed in a while. Okay, let's go into, where the hell am I going? Into here, yeah, I figured this all break. Cannot be used outside of an async function. I think I could set those things to async. I thought that was the big driver behind them. So mutations are not asynchronous and actions are asynchronous. I think those were the big things behind them. So let's refresh this page first to make sure that our customers still load. And it doesn't. Oh, it does. Okay, so it did load, but it didn't actually show the loading little dialog indicator there. So that's still mapped in, which is pretty cool. So customer list, is customers table loading? Yeah, that should be right? Do I have the name of that right? Is customers table loading? Is customers table loading? Is customers table loading? This all looks fine. So let's look. You can actually use the Vuex tools to figure out what's going on with the Vue tools. The Vue Dev Tools you can use to look at what's going on under the covers, and it's really nice that they actually have Vuex built into it as well. Can I zoom in on this? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we got Vue under Vuex. We're set user, set customer. So I see set customers. I don't see anything that says we are setting the. Maybe do I got that right? Commit set token. Unless maybe I'm still doing. You know what? I wonder if I'm still loading customers inside of the actual thing itself. That's got to be what I'm doing. Yeah, I think I forgot something. All right, so let's go back into, get rid of that. Customer list.view. Instead of this load customers, we instead want to map in a mutation of load customers because it's calling still the local function and not the new one we just pulled into the Vuex store. So let's save that. Auth service is defined but never used. Customer service is defined but never used. Yeah, I got to figure out how to get rid of that. I still don't like the fact that ESLint is now like controlling my life when it comes to this. All right, so let's refresh. We still don't have any loading indicator. And we don't have any data. So what happened? We have set user. So unknown local mutation, load customers. Global type is customers / load customers. Well, that's an interesting error. Yeah, we're importing the mutation from the customers. So, oh, it's an action. That's why. I think I gotta do map actions. Customers, and we'll pop that open and load customers. Save that. Map actions not defined. Yeah, I gotta update this up here. Map mutations with the map actions. Like that. At refresh, we got our loading indicator, and we've got a customer. Cool. So now, inside of the modal that we've created, once the thing is set, we're gonna set is new customer dialog to true. We need to map in our new action here too. So map actions, customers. I'll explain what's going on here in a sec. Load customers. This will basically just refresh it, right? And since we're straight out setting the array here, it should just, like, all the new data that comes in, it's just going to pop it there and it'll be displayed. But anyway, what's going on here, the reason why I have this customers here is because I'm using what's called a Vuex module as opposed to Vuex, I think, as opposed to the global store. So inside of my application here on the left-hand side, you can see in the root of the source directory, I have a file called store. And in here, I'm also importing what I'm calling the customers module. And I'm registering all the way down here. You can see I started moving some of this stuff around. But in here, I have a module. I have a module section here, and I'm registering the customers module as a customers module inside of the global store, right? So like this is the global store, this is the top level, but I created a hierarchical way of accessing the different child stores by doing this. And this is the file that I'm importing. So this thing right here, I have namespace set to true, which means I can refer to it using customers slash whatever is here, or I can, when I import or when I map in my actions, I can pass in and say, hey, every action that's going to be mapped in from here is going to come from my customer store. So that's why that's there. And then everything after that is just an array of the names of the actual actions or mutations or getters or everything that's there. So yeah, I just felt I wanted to take a second to explain there exactly what I'm doing. So we've got the loading indicators working, and let's see, inside of our modal, did we update this? No. So we got to say, so that's false, but we also have to do this dot load customers. Pass that in, which is going to call into our actions and load our customers from the store. So now I can actually trigger the application to load customers, not just in the single component, but also from any component that registers those actions. So we'll save that, and then let's head over here. Oh yeah, forgot I have to update this guy here as well. Make sure it's imported. Map actions, save that. That's gonna refresh. Okay, there's that. Let's create a new customer. Let's say Jane Smith. So now when I save this, it breaks. Oh no, it doesn't. It just took a while. There, it reloaded. There you go. That's exactly the expected behavior we were after. So we've got all that working. Now, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add on the right-hand side, we're going to add pencil and a delete icon so we can actually delete these. You know, we can modify the records themselves. So let me figure out Vuetify. Let's look up the data table, and we're going to see how we can... I'll have to... Actually, no, we don't need the little pencil. We can actually just click on a record or tap on a record to modify it. I think that should be fine, but... you know what, then in that case, maybe we'll just put the delete inside of the dialog itself. Yeah, let's go that route. So we have a cancel, we have a save. Let's add a delete button in here, or we could just add maybe to the bottom of the actual dialog itself. We'll just add a little text that's like delete customer. I think it's really small. I got my max width set to 290, so let's set the max width to something like 450 and make it a bigger dialog. And let's add, I don't want to add any more text fields in here quite yet. So we've got, here's the body of our text, our actions down below, vrow. Let's add another. Actually, I think I could just add this in line with the same column. So let's do, let's look up the V buttons. I think there's one that you can put in here that doesn't actually have a button. I think it's flat. So set a darken one, text. Maybe we'll just, oh, wait a second. Okay, so those should actually be flat already. So we want to get rid of those there. So we'll say delete. Oh yeah, I forgot that's a keyword. So we'll say delete customer. And async function. Whoops. A little bit of my C sharpness just came out there. All right, so async function. Save that, and we're gonna actually, do we want to pop up another dialog? I guess, because we're gonna want to make sure that we tell the, like, say like, hey, you know, you might want to make sure you know what you're doing, right? I think we're gonna add that later. I'm just not gonna do it right now. So we'll await customer service dot delete customer, and we'll pass in our token, and we'll pass in, oh, we have to bring this guy up here too. Get that guy there. We'll pass in our token, and we'll pass in our customer, customer.id. I don't have the edit actually working, so we'll say customer ID. I guess ID is fine. Make that just a blank string for now, but we'll come back and reference that later. It's just this.id, and then we also want to do all this stuff here. So. Set is new customer dialog open is false, and then load customers, we're still going to do all that there. That's going to be the same. So we're going to add a to do here. To do add confirmation dialog. And we also, inside of our customer service, we're going to have to add that ability to delete a customer. All right, so let's go into services and customer service. And now you can see we have a fetch customer to create. So you create, read, update. So we'll do exports.update customer. I guess we'll just delete customer. It's async function, and we're passing a token, and we're going to pass in a customer ID. We don't really need any other information than that because they are deleting it. We'll validate that the customer they're trying to delete is part of the active account that's inside of the token that's passed through. But now I'm going to copy all this guy here, and we're going to paste that down there, even though we're going to modify a bunch of stuff. So the method is going to be delete. API based, same thing. Customers is fine. Tokens fine. I guess we want to do customers and then ID equals, and then we'll pass in the customer ID here. So we use a query parameter to determine whether we should delete that customer or not. Token is fine. We can return response.data, but nothing should come back because we should just get deleted back. So, whoop. Pressing wrong buttons. All right, so get rid of that. So now this is wired up. Let's go into the API and let's build that out. Get rid of all my archive stuff. And then in the API, I'm going to close this so I don't have to see it anymore for a little bit at least. So we got auth, we've got customers. Let's go into customer, app. Do I have a delete defined here? I thought I might have set this up already. So I've got del, which is my delete. Looks like I'd already assumed a query parameter is going to be used. Delete customer, which is mapped into delete entity. Cool, cool, cool. Status code is 200, which means it's okay, otherwise we get an error. So actually, this looks like it's already set up and ready to go for us, which is pretty cool. I don't have a way to open an existing customer yet. So we actually need to do that first. So under modules, customers, let's go into customer list, and I got to figure out what events we can use to when a specific entry in the table is clicked. So now we go in. Now we start doing our Googling, right? So here we go. Click.row handle click, and maybe we'll start off. We'll just by console logging this out just to see what this looks by. Let's see, edit customer. Let's create a new method down here for editing the customer. Edit customer, we'll make that a function. And that looks like that takes in value. And we'll console.log value. All right, let's go back into our app, make sure we didn't break anything. Probably did, because we always do. Refresh that. All right, so we got that. Let's open up our console here. That's not our console. Open the wrong thing, of course. Let's clear out that guy there, and I'm going to move that off to the side for a sec. We're going to click on it, and let's open this guy up. See what we got here. So I got under the, this is like a plain object. I got getters and setters. Here's all my information here, right? So it looks like it just literally passes in the object, which is kind of cool. You know what I think we're going to do? Since this data should be up to date, instead of making a call out to the API to get a specific user, we're just going to pass in this information and then use it to populate the fields. So we can do that actually by setting up some parameters or properties rather inside of our component. So let's go back into our code here, and inside of our new customers modal, we're going to set up some properties here. I think I can do props. Is it a function or is it an array? I don't quite remember. So we will use some Google Foo again to find that out. View properties. So props uses an array. Oh, here we go. This is what I'm used to seeing here. So you can define the actual type of what you're looking to receive in here. So we're going to use something like this. I'm going to say like is edit mode, and then like say is edit mode, and we'll say that's a Boolean, and then we'll also pass in an ID, which is a string, first name, which is a string, last name, which is a string, and then finally, I guess I could just pass in the customer. We just pass in the whole customer. Yeah, I like that better. Customer will pass in as being an object. So is edit mode will set to true. and then customer will set to object. I think this will work. Actually, I don't know, because usually you register these components and then display them. You would usually pass in the props here, but I don't have props to pass in, I suppose. I don't know. Let's just keep running with this and see what we can do with this. All right, so now on open, we have computed, we have methods. I guess we want to say mounted, because that will be when we actually see the thing show up. Nah, we're gonna do down here. Mounted. That actually, I think, should be a function though as well. If this dot is edit mode, then we will say this dot ID equals customer dot ID. This dot first name equals because this dot customer dot first name. This dot last name. I probably could save myself some time by making the entire customer object here as opposed to just doing first name, last name, and I'm probably going to end up going that route, but this works for now. Is edit mode. All right, so now I have to figure out how to open this thing up because I forgot how I want to do this and actually pass data in. Oh, we got a complaint. Customer is not defined. I think that's because I didn't use this dot customer here. Yeah. So that dot customer. You know, the other thing I can use to do is use the store and say, like, you know, check, say in the store is editing customer, set the boolean there, and then, you know, pass in the customer into the store that's being edited, and then that will display in the front end. That actually, I think, is what we're going to do instead of using props here. Because I need a way to have inside here, I need this new customer modal to be registered here with no props and then pass in data to it so this way it can be edited. So yeah, we're gonna go back to doing this in the store itself. So is being edited, set it to false initially, and we'll say customer being edited, and that's gonna be weird noises in the house. And that's just going to be an empty object. So we gotta modify our getters and mutations to accommodate this. So we're gonna have two new guys there. Do copy that. Whoa, I don't know what that did. Paste that there, paste that there, copy that, paste that there, paste that there. Customer table loading state. Yeah, so as our getters are taken care of. And we'll have to duplicate that. So is customer being edited. Is customer being edited and customer being edited. Right? Right. Alright, so we need to copy this down there, boom there, boom there, boom there, and boom there. And then finally we have to do set is, and then customer being edited there, 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 there. Try that one more time. Add some commas here, and we'll do set customer being edited, and I think that should be fine. This should work. Okay, so now we can get rid of our props. We don't need props anymore. Props are dead to us. We don't care. So we do this dot is customer being edited. This dot ID is this dot customer being edited dot ID instead, which we're gonna use to, we're gonna pass this into our getters here. So we have another getter. We have an is a customer being edited, and then we also have say is customer being edited, like that. And then same thing. I'm actually gonna split this over here so I can do a little more copy pasting here. Move that guy there, and we have inside of our store duplicate some lines there, paste that there, and paste that there into our mutations. Because what we'll do is once we close this, we'll always make sure to set the is customer being edited to false, and we'll set the customer being edited to an empty object to kind of just reset that state. Okay, so once this thing is mounted, which I think is what happened, is the event that's triggered when it actually comes into view, because right now I have it hidden. We will say, I guess maybe not, because I think it is mounted technically all the time. We might have, we'll play with this and see how this goes. So that's all fine and good. Let's go back in here and refresh this and just click a button and see what happens. Open this. We don't have any here. Oh, hold on a second. I have to modify our customer list to accommodate our changes we just did there. So we're actually going to copy and paste our new getters and mutation. Actually, I don't even think we need to do our getters. We just need our mutations. And we actually don't need to set customers here anymore either. Okay, so edit customer, we're going to say the value is the customer actually being passed in. So we'll do set, oh, not set timeout, set is customer being edited equal, we'll pass in true there. And then we'll do, I guess this, we gotta use this. And then we gotta do this dot customer being edited. Set customer being edited, and we'll pass in our value, and we're actually going to change the name of this here to customer, just so this way our variables and parameters and everything actually have some meaning to them. And then we'll also do this dot set is new customer dialog open, which I probably should change the name of that. We'll also set that to true, so we can reuse the same dialog. And I don't even know that I want to reuse the same dialog. I might end up making a different dialog, but this works for now. Okay, in there, I'm full screen mode for some reason. Let's F5 this just to make sure. I don't think I need to do that. Okay, and then if I click on that, you can see it opens it. Okay, to use vmain. Let's take a look at our store. So we have is set is customer being edited. Like this is the active state, right? So if I look at state under customers, customer being edited is our customer itself. Is customer being edited is true. But I'm betting that since it is mounted, it does not like that. So how can I change this? Because I don't want it to be under mounted. I don't want it to be under created. Because if I do, let's see, let's just do console.log. I'm mounted. Save that, and let's F5 this. I'm actually going to open the console. Yeah, and I already have an I'm mounted here. Let's refresh the page. Can I F5 from here? F5, yeah, it mounts. So it's mounted already. It's always going to return false. So I guess the only other thing I possibly could do is, instead of using local variables, use the model state, or I can set up a watcher. Yeah, that might actually work. So in a watcher, I can then do is customer being edited function if new val is true. Then we'll do this. Well, maybe we'll move all this stuff in here. And then maybe else we'll just clear the thing out. I don't know. Let's see. All right, we got Jane, we got Smith. We don't have an email, but that's fine. I don't think we set the email. But cancel this and open this again. I'm not getting anything. I guess else we could reset the form. Let's duplicate this. I actually don't. Why do I got commas here? This dot email. We'll fix that, and then we'll do else this dot reset form. This dot reset form. Okay. So okay, it's false there, so it reset the form. It doesn't like to. It doesn't like the fact that I'm not doing this differently. So what do we got going here? Right now is where we're at. But inside of our state, we have is customer being edited is still set to true. So something's not resetting that. So cancel, we should, instead of this da-da-da-da-da, we should set set is customer being edited to false. And under our save, we also need to set that there as well. But probably what I'm going to end up doing is pass this into the reset form, so this way it just handles everything inside of that reset form. All right, back to our what we're doing now. New, okay, that's fine. Jane Smith works. John Smith still doesn't work. Why doesn't John Smith still work? I want to open up our Dev Tools again. I want to take a look at that state one more time. We're still at the base state, so let's open that. Actually, I'm going to refresh this all together so we can get a clean slate to work with. Click on that. Okay, that works. Instead of doing that, let's mount this to the, oh, I guess I could do this, it's fine. So customers being edited, true. Our customer being edited is set here, right? So when I cancel, we have here, customer being edited is still set to true even after all this stuff. So why is that being called a bunch of times, but my other thing is not? Did I not save? Maybe I didn't save. That would, I totally do that all the time, so that would make sense. I'll just make some modifications and stuff and not actually save what I'm working on. Okay, so we opened it, we closed it, and let's look at our state again. I've got two sets of tools open. Set is customer being edited. So now customer being edited set to false, but set new is new customer dialog. Okay, so they're both set to false now, so good. Customer being edited is still there, but I don't know that that matters. But I can open it again, and I can open it again. Cool. So we can pass in information into our dialog box here, which is pretty cool. Okay, so there's all that, and then the last thing we have is delete. Oh, and I'll have to update save, so this way we can detect if the customer is being edited instead of creating a new customer, we want to update an existing customer. So let's delete John Smith, and let's take a look at our network calls. I closed it, which is interesting. So I have a delete. It passed me back at 200, so that's leading me to believe it really did delete, which would be pretty cool. All right, so let's scan here. I still have John Smith. So it gave me a 200, but didn't actually do anything. Which begs the question, why? Where's my delete? Because I refreshed it, it didn't like that. Let's look into API and see if our API possibly threw an error. I got a 200 for that. I've got, what is this? Options customer. Information on a specific GET request. Apparently that's always been happening. There's your delete right there with the customer ID that was passed in. Let's look at the API code and let's see what it's actually doing. I'm interested to see if it's actually deleting anything or what. Customers app. So I have a delete customer. Passes to delete entity. But see, I'm passing user ID, and I don't think that's actually what I want to use. I think I want the account ID, because the user ID, it's not going to find anything there. This was part of the change that I made. See, I had set the event user ID. I think I have it set to the account ID. So inside of shared, I have a helper here. I have an auth helper. I get an account ID from token. So I've got that. And where is that being pulled? That's under my main Lambda helper. So account ID, if account ID, set the account ID. So instead of doing that, because if we look at our data, where our owner is actually the account, it's not the user anymore. So the reason we probably got the 200 back is because it was looking for a user that owns that record and not an account that owned that record. So back into the customers here, we're instead going to pass in event.accountID and save that. And since we're running a SAM local, we actually don't need to restart the API. It's going to, from what I've seen, SAM local will dynamically just spin up a Docker container, execute the Lambda function, and close it back down again. Just pretty cool that it can do it so fast. Because I can't remember. I think when I tried running something on port 3000 as well, it I can't remember how I determined that, but it seemed to be what it was doing in the background. So let's try this one more time then. So if I go to John Smith and I hit delete, it did a thing. Oh, John's gone. There we go. That was the solution. Now let's scan our database again. John is indeed gone. Okay, cool. So now we have Jane's. Oh, that's not right. Open John Smith again. See, that's why I have to when I cancel and stuff, I'm going to have to clear out that state to make sure it's not still there. What I might end up doing is I might modify my state to be use kind of like the MVVM approach or MVC approach. I can't remember. I guess it would be more like model view model. So like the state would actually be part of the view model that's mounted into the view. But yeah, I'm not going to do that today. So, okay, I've got create, I've got read, I need to do update. So the last thing we need to do is update customer. So we have a new customer, and this is not really a new customer. I guess I want to change the dialog box to say something different. Side of here, we don't want new customer. Let's duplicate this, and I think I can do a VF. Is customer being edited? That's going to display that. Otherwise, we'll do VF. I think I just do VElse actually, like that. See how this works. I click on it. It doesn't do anything now, so we successfully broke it. I guess I should zoom in on this a little bit too. Let's refresh that after we made that change. Zoom out again a little bit. Click on that edit, else customer, okay. Cancel, well, new customer. All right, cool, that actually did work. All right, so now we know that will change. We can see what our dialog box is actually doing. I'm going to have to rename this component. Edit customer, like that. Delete, we'll delete. And I guess the last thing we need to do, we'll say if this.is customer being edited, we will do await customer service.update customer, else duplicate that, bring that down, create customer. So we'll say update customer. And we'll also pass in the customer ID. I guess this.id, like that. So we'll pass in the customer ID and we'll use that as part of the query parameter as well, just like we did with delete. Before I even do that, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to check to see if the put is still using the user ID. Yeah, I figured. So we'll do user account ID. and account, if I can spell right, account ID. I think this should be working as well, and it's going to pass back the updated. So what we can then do, which I don't think I'm going to do right now because I'm running a little short on time. I've got some other things I got to do tonight. What we'll end up doing is, in the future, is instead of refreshing the customer list, what I think I'm going to want to do is, because every time you make a call to the API and every time you make a call to Dynamo, it's going to incur charges. So to reduce those charges, what I'm going to want to do is, if it saves, if it gets 200 back, we're just going to assume that everything went right and restructure the data locally and then save it into that table, kind of just like push it into the array. And then same thing, we'll like, you know, we'll just do some array modifications to modify the table data. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, but not tonight, because that's going to require a little more effort than I care to put into this at this specific time. Okay, so now we need to create an update customer inside of our customer service. We have fetch customer, and we're going to put this right in here so we have the full CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. Exports.update customer equals async function. We had our token, we had our customer ID, and we had our customer data being sent in, like that. And how did I have this set up here? We're going to copy and paste this here because most of this is going to be the same. We just got to tag on that query parameter. It's going to be a put customers, and we'll say ID equals customer ID, like that. The body of the response is still going to be customer data, and then we're going to return it back to the caller. So let's save that, and let's actually try to see if this does do what it's supposed to do. And I'm going to remove, we have a console.log here somewhere. Get customers. Whoops, what did I do? Console.log. Console.log customer. I don't want that. So we should just have our, and I probably should do these to errors. So console.error and console.error. All right, let's go back into our code, and I'm going to refresh this just to make sure we got everything new. Okay, we'll go in here. We're in edit customer mode. So we'll say Jane 12. Jane. How about Jane Smith 123 or Jane Smith? Jane's, I don't know, Smythe. Right there, like that. Let's go ahead and save that and see what happens. Sweet. It worked exactly as expected. So I've got the updated email address, first name, last name. We can come in here, and if I copy, even if I highlight this, you can probably see it. It's really small on the screen, but it does say Jane Smith there. If I perform another scan operation, which is going to refresh the data and hover it, it did update the email address. So our customers, it doesn't look the prettiest. We'll get into that probably next week when I do this. We have our full CRUD operation. So yeah, I think, again, a little bit on the shorter side today. Usually I go for a couple of hours, but I've got some other work I have to do tonight. And I didn't do it last week, so I at least wanted to do a stream this week. We're going to make some future progress on this next week. We're going to tweak the UI. We're going to make everything look nice and pretty. And then I might try and go through the process of getting a customer import system set up, or a customer sync system. I'm probably going to go with the import to start off with, just to make it a little bit easier and get this thing in a working state. Because the two main integrations we want to start off with, at least for now, we're going to do a bunch of integrations to this thing so I can import as many customers as possible, integrate with different shipping providers, all that good stuff. But I want to integrate with Square to pull in those customers. I'll eventually integrate also with Shopify, I think was the next one I wanted to do. But then also we're integrating with EasyPost, which we have most of the API, all the heavy lifting for that's all set up. Once we have Square, and once they have the whole shipments flow working, the next thing I'm actually going to start working on is a .NET Core or .NET Standard application, so it's cross-platform, can run anywhere. But it's basically going to be a printer service that's going to hook into an AWS SQS queue, and we can, by using the combination of those things, we can actually, I can send a message up to the queue with the location of the shipment label. The service can then reach out and pull down download the image, and then spit it out of a label printer. I have a Dymo label printer. Let me see if I can find what I got. I've got something like this right here, right? So the service is going to sit on a computer and it's going to monitor that queue, and when it detects a new message in the queue and sees that, and it's going to pull off the JPEG. It's just a path for the JPEG, but it's going to spit out a label for this thing. That's, again, just to start. Depending on how customer requests go, we'll figure out if I want to get add different shipping labels and different things. I don't know. This is all, I have a baseline idea for the product because I know how it's been used in the past on my Windows version of this. So I'm really trying to just mimic a lot of that, but make it accessible through the web, so this way anyone can use it, and make it completely like platform agnostic. So I don't want it to be tied to any specific thing. I'm rambling. And I'm going to go. So thank you for joining for the couple who did. Join me again next week at 8 p.m. Central. I will try to start on time again next time, even though I pushed it back to 8:30 this week. I was still a few minutes late. But yeah, with that, have a great week. And, feel free to hit me up on all the channels. Check the description below.